Hi, this is Rohan Poddar. I'm the chief storyteller and managing partner at Rohan Poddar Creative Media LLP. And today I bring to you episode number 5 of the Brand Storytelling Dialogue. Branded content has emerged strongly as a powerful means of engaging with your target audience. Now, branded content is an umbrella term for a variety of content styles, formats, channels, etc. To understand and discuss on this topic, we have arranged an interesting panel. Let me introduce them real quick to you. So our first speaker is Kiran Giradkar. Kiran is a strong and dynamic marketing leader in food and beverages industry with over 19 years of proven opinion leadership. He has worked in India's most loved brands like Parle, Bajaj, Bisleri, Camlin, Storia. He holds a master's degree in management studies from University of Mumbai and is also an alumnus of Institute of Chemical Technology, Mumbai. Currently heads marketing and corporate communications for Nilon's Foods. Our next speaker, Charu Budhiraja. Charu has 17 years of hands-on experience in content creation, advertising, and strategy. She currently works at Warner Brothers Discovery India, where she has conceived, executed, and delivered campaigns in the domain of travel, tourism, lifestyle, education, etc., that have moved heads and hearts, elevating brands to top positions. Our third speaker is Ramesh Chembath. Ramesh has had an amazing journey from sales to business strategy, marketing to general management, and now as a partner to many established and emerging brands in a career spanning 2 decades. His formative years were spent with Tata, Aditya Birla Group, and Garware Polyester as a part of business startup and restructuring teams, where he had the opportunity to learn and create successful business frameworks, lead strategic channel initiatives, and successful product launches. So there you go. Let me jump into the webinar real quick here. And my first question is to Kiran. Kiran, typically TV and radio ads have been the mainstay of marketing communication in the FMCG industry. Do you think that there's a real shift towards content that is not promotional to engage with consumers?
Well, Rohan, thank you first of all for having me on this esteemed panel. I always like to share stories. Talking to FMCG is a very unique category to work in, where you directly engage with the consumers. And the kind of the shift which we have seen over the decades now is quite evident to everyone. As we were spending a lot of time on a bigger television or a bigger screen, we have moved to a smaller screen, while the time spent on that screen has actually increased. Now, this basically asks or the push the marketers to think absolutely different than the way we were thinking earlier. It was one-way communication from a big television with 30-second promoted with this is the problem, this is the solution, and you have to buy this. It was absolutely one-way communication. Now what is happening is, in this digital age where everybody has a power, marketers are as closer to the consumer as possible. At the same time, consumers are exchanging their ideas with the marketer. So it's absolutely two-way communication. And here comes the biggest challenge for any marketer to kind of give the content which should be seamless with somebody's need. It should never be pushy that I am giving you, you please take it. Nobody is going to give you a second of his life for that purpose. Now, with this context, whenever you're speaking to someone, it has to be storytelling. We are all storytellers and we love storytelling, either the consumer or the marketer. Now, that is where we cannot push the content which is pushy or the very branded content one that you take this and you'll get something out of it. You have to talk to them in their language, which is quite realistic, and the content which is quite seamless, with driven by the purpose why you're in the market. What is the value your product is going to add? It might be product or it might be services. Now, with this context, I think the communication story and the way you're communicated is actually changing. And that is where the content marketing comes into picture. And that is where your engagement with the consumer also actually enhances. I think that is what I have seen in my life through the journey, and hence it is integral part of any marketing campaign now. More so when it comes to an FMCG.
Right, right. And that's very interesting. And FMCG is where a lot of this is happening, since it's a very hardcore consumer driven industry. Now, on the other hand, Charu, as a head of, as a creative head of branded content, can you talk to us about the creative thought and the process behind the branded content, beg your pardon, that you make at Warner Brothers Discovery?
So, as Kiran rightly said, branded content is not a one-way communication anymore, right? It's more about storytelling. It's about associating a brand to its values, so you make it very emotional, you make it very evocative, you make it very engaging for that matter. And that's how it becomes a two-way communication. And, like gone are those days when branded content was about talking about a feature in some way or the other, because branded content is not about selling a product. It is not about showcasing the features. You do that through content marketing. So just like setting the context before I get into the process, because to be honest, there is no certain process or a protocol that you need to follow. But I would just say, considering that the brands are evolving these days, all the brands for that matter have a set of values that they stand for. There is a tool guide that brands follow, and I'm sure Kiran would agree in a lot of ways, being a marketer.
Absolutely.
So because brands have tools and a style guide already designed, one, as in for that matter, as a creative person, you need to align with those values. You need to understand the audience. And in terms of the audience, I would say you need to align the audience that the brand is targeting. And along with that, because we work for a network, we have to marry both, right? Because there is a certain audience we also cater to. So you have to figure out a middle ground when you are proposing a strategy or working on a strategy. And then, of course, it comes the creative process. I would also say that, you need to show the story. You don't tell the story. That's very, very important, because telling again is gone. You don't do it through branded content. You really need to show, engage with the audience, connect with the audience in some way so that they get some message out of it. And of course, I wouldn't take it away that the end result or the takeaway has to be that it is about this brand in some way. So these days, I think with the evolving market, I would say people understand that even if there is a benefit of a brand that needs to be showcased through like a film or something, it's done in a very subtle sort of way. So nothing is in your face, yet you are talking about the brand in its own way. So, I would say with the market, people evolving, it feels great when we also get briefs and we work together than, this is a brief, just come with it and just showcase this. It's gone. We've really moved on, and I'm great we moved on. So, yeah.
Right, right. And in fact, this is very interesting, where I had heard this, or in fact, read this article by David B. He was the ex-vice president of creative at Marriott Hotels, where he says the brands need to be content creators and media houses, right? So somewhere, there is this realization that the branding happens through content that engages people. And that's where this thing becomes really relevant. I want to turn to Ramesh. Ramesh, you're a consumer durable industry veteran, which, like any other industry, is getting rapidly disrupted. Can you share your views on how consumers' preferences with respect to how the brands communicate with them has changed over the years?
So I will answer this looking at two perspectives. First, like today, I look after e-commerce, and I'm sure most of the brands are looking at communication not just for creating awareness, but also to conversions. Conversion, performance marketing is the key thing. The marketeers have become the business heads who have to drive numbers, not just create awareness and say these are what the fancy numbers are. If you look at, so I'm basically working on the bottom of the funnel now to get the customer to buy the product. So if you look at some of the interesting statistics, which Kiran also touched upon today, almost most of people spend, in terms of screen, most of people spend most time on the small screens or online. And 54% of consumption is only streaming entertainment, which is the highest. So naturally, you don't have an option but to look at branded content. when it comes to that. Secondly, if I look at consumers' buying preferences, now it's said that 70% of the consumers prefer to learn about the product from a content rather than a traditional advertising. So when you talk about content, it's about, you cannot just brand a content. Of course, there are certain videos about the product now, but how many people do check the videos? They would like to look at reviews, they look at other things to understand where it stacks up. So how do you create those seven, is second point. And third point is about today, the global understanding is that 44% of the marketeers spend more time, and they believe the more ROI comes when you create a permanent content. Now, digital world, advertising is so short-lived. So there is no two option but to focus on branded content in today's world. Now, how do you create content is something that Charu also touched upon very briefly. Now, what kind of content they want to consume? They would look at a branded content which is delivered by a professional. The content that is getting delivered, it has to be professional, it has to be organic, and it has to be trustworthy. So it's more about what she said. It's not about, the content creation. It's about the way you create. It has to be evocative. It has to be trustworthy. It also has to come from a source that, anyone and everyone can't speak about it, right? So challenges for brand managers today is, whom should I use? What kind of content should I create? Whom should I associate with? What kind of, and interestingly, the music streaming is also going up. The branded content through music is also on a very, very high path. This industry, the overall industry of branded content is assumed to be around almost 400 billions in 2025 from almost 85 billion which was 2025. So yes, the industry is growing. The challenge would be what kind of content, how do you associate the brand, how do you bring out the brand in the whole content is going to be the biggest challenge for the brands. That's what I feel. And it's not just to create awareness, it's about to drive, finally click the button and get the business going. So that's my perspective on the whole story, which it's moving.
Right. And in fact, in this particular discussion, there's a lot of talk about purpose-driven narrative. And I'm sure you must have heard of that as well. Kiran, now, do you believe that building a strong purpose-driven narrative is vital for brands, and you can take the context of your own industry if you like, to differentiate themselves with Indian consumers? And Charu and Ramesh, feel free to weigh in on this. So let's begin with Kiran on this.
I think, I've spoken with lots of marketers. Okay, whenever we meet, we ask, what is the purpose of your brand? Most of the time, these people interchange that with the business purpose. Okay, now if I ask you what's the purpose of your brand, sometimes they say, I have to outshout the competition. Okay, I have to double X the growth or the sales, etc. Now that's a business goal. The brand purpose can never be that. Why do you stay in the life of consumer, and how do you add the value? How relevant you are? If you can define that very, very clearly, then your chances of hitting to the consumer and being a part of them and their lifestyle is very, very easy. That purpose has to be defined. Why I believe. See, coming from the FMCG industry, one of my most favorite brand is Coke or Coca-Cola. But it's the most hated product. I never recommended my kids to have it. But on daily basis, I engage with that because Coke has a very simple philosophy to refresh lives of the people. So whenever you need refreshment, Coke is there. Now that purpose is quite defined, and all the communication is targeted in that same way. Now, when I say I hate that product Coca-Cola I hate, I don't want, but I like that brand because this purpose driven. Now, how do they do that? See, refreshing does not only mean that when it comes to your share of throat or whenever you want to drink something to refresh, etc. But it can refresh your life as well. After the hectic work, when I go back to home, you know what? Most of the people like us, they meditate or they find solace or refreshing through the sound of music. I don't know, but I eventually alternate day, I switch on Coke Studio music. I consume that content from that brand to such an extent that I find solace. I keep on searching n number of videos of the Coke Studio. Amazing brand integration and amazing, the way to proliferate your content through the brand. And it's an amazing story. my kid also watches it, but I always tell him, "Bhai, tu ye product mat pita, ye product mein bahut sugar hota hai." So I am a part of that brand journey, and I love that brand for that purpose. The way they have actually utilized that platform to give the refreshing, it's a very different take altogether. I don't know whether brand managers have thought about it, but it refreshes me through the music. Now that's the power of the storytelling on out of branded content through the purpose. Now remember, this actually happens because of the purpose only. There will be lots of brand managers coming in and going, but only thing which stays is the purpose. And if you are very true to the purpose, you are communicating and offering the product and services to meaningful to that purpose, then I think you have a great chances of winning consumers' heart. And that is where you get that consumers love. So I mean, I think that's it. You never can override or overestimate the power of brand purpose. Rohan.
Correct.
Charu
correct.
and Ramesh, I think you can come in here.
Yeah, so I just want to bring in an example that we executed when I was with Godrej. That was the time when IPL was kicking off, and we created a program called as 1 Watt Project. So there was, along with advertising, we did a lot of stuff which was about saving energy. We launched an air conditioner which is supposed to be the most energy efficient. Brand also stands for energy efficiency. Like Godrej as a brand uses green as a philosophy. Not just a philosophy, it's part of DNA of the brand itself. And we said, let's just educate people how they can save energy, and we created something called as 1 Watt Project. We did a campaign around the brand at the same time, and we did tie in a little bit of advertising to that project, and we did activities where we would have spent 1/10 of the amount of money on taking this forward as 1 Watt Project. We had a lot of people who got interested and wanted to associate with us. They spoke about the program. I can tell you even today that 1 Watt Project content is available on the net. People associate with that. The advertising is gone. It's almost 10 years, 12 years. Its advertising is gone. The story, the brand has moved ahead with the same philosophy. But that helped us to reinforce the entire thought process that Godrej products are very energy efficient. I don't think any amount of money or talking would have done this. Standing up and saying, I'm 5-star rated, 6-star rated, there's someone will say, I'm 5.5-star rated. I have so much of this power. This is where, emotions are built into a story. Like how do you sell the story? What Charu was talking about, making it emotive, connecting with people. So 1 Watt Project became a thought process where almost 500,000 people connected with the entire program. They learned small tricks like how to save energy by not keeping your phone charging for whole night. Many people wrote back saying that I've stopped putting my phone for charging. Usually I used to put my phone for charging when I go to sleep and take it in the morning, but I stopped it because I realized it consumes 1 watt even after it is charged at night. So in 1 hour it is charged, 7 hours it's just consuming 1 watt for nothing. So this no advertising would have helped us to do. But yes, with the right content, working with right brands, we had association with one of the brands. I think it was Kings 11. We created a lot of activity around it. We were able to push the story well.
I would also just like to add to this point only. In my career, I would say half or more than half of my career I spent doing advertising. So I worked across agencies, right? From JWT to Ogilvy and Mather to Rediffusion, every agency, like at least 4 agencies I worked for. From then to now, what I do, which is like there I used to create brand ads, right? And now I create branded content, which is long form, short form, mid form, even 30-seconders, right? The involvement from then to now, and I've been dealing with brand marketers forever. It's unheard of. Because again, what you were saying, Kiran, and even Ramesh, right, you were saying, brands wanted to just communicate a certain thing and you do it. Again, it's what is the return? What are we getting out of it? And now brands do not come with that when they brief. And I wouldn't say all brands, because I would just like to just mention about one example. Sustainability has become the talk of the town, right? Everyone says that we want to be sustainable, but what are they doing about it? We are a sustainable brand, but what are they really doing about it? Yes, there's some CSR activity that starts, there's some, so people harp on it, but it's become like a very cliche sort of statement. So I will just give you an example. Hyundai Kona electric was being launched in India in 2019. That's when they had approached us. And that was one of my very, I wouldn't say early campaigns, but one of the biggest campaigns I would have worked for at Discovery, now Warner Brothers Discovery. They came with a simple brief that we want to promote zero emission. That's about it. How do you do that of course, they wanted the car to be the hero, because it is, car brands are about, let's just be very honest. They wanted, and you can showcase car brands in a very smart and a beautiful way without, again, showcasing it in your face, because that's the beauty of I would say, the category, right? So we took the car, that was the first electric vehicle that we took to the base camp of Mount Everest. It was a nightmare, but we managed it. But the car did extremely well. And the message throughout was that, an electric vehicle can be taken to the base camp of Mount Everest. And we obviously, because Mount Everest and the base camp, it's very dirty. So we did, talk about the cleanliness message also. In fact, we did one Guinness World Book of Records also for this, because that's the only car that's crossed that kind of, sort of height. But what I'm trying to say is that the message was clearly communicated, with the car being the hero still. So it worked both ways. Like, the purpose-driven stuff was also done, yet the car was the hero. So your brand was still the hero. So sometimes, there are ways to manage that also. It doesn't happen all the time, but yeah, again, it's a win-win situation sometimes, not always.
And in fact, Charu, the example that you just mentioned reminds me of this video by Tata Punch. Kusha Kapila, Indian parents after PTM.
The recent one, I saw it.
And initially I thought it's some kind of Instagram reel by some celebrity or some influencer or something. But then I realized that, and this was the first time I saw it, and I realized it's actually about Tata. I mean, it's the car. It's actually a...
1 second, let me just add on here. That's, I don't know whether I'm supposed to say this, but I'll just say it.
Sure.
It was created long ago. The brand integration happened later.
Oh, is
all
that
the
so?
shots that you see, they are all overimposed. They are not shot like that. So, but the thing is, but the integrations are in your face. If you see, it's fun, but what I'm trying to tell you here is that there are brands who have evolved, but there are brands who still want to harp up. And again, what Kiran rightly said, it depends on what is the purpose. Is it like, what you were mentioning, the brand purpose, or what is it? Objectives are different of brands all the time. And obviously the communication or the creative that is made by creators like us, we have to keep the brief in mind. So if the brief in mind is showcase 5 features, we have to work around that way. If the brief is, let's just do it, in a very sort of subtle way and ensure that there's great storytelling and that it connects with the audience, then we create content keeping that in mind. And sometimes it's both. So we work that way also. So it's, again, I would say we are evolving, but we still need to evolve a little more. But again, there's ROI attached. So I don't blame anyone. It's obvious, everything is attached to sales. There is money involved. So yeah.
In fact, yeah. So before I move to the next section, I just want to ask the audience to put their questions in the chat box so that we can take their questions post this session. Now, Charu, you use the word ROI, frankly speaking, not so favorite word of mine, but that's how it is. That's how the world runs, And so in this particular leg of the conversation, I want to bring this up and understand how is the ROI measured for brand stories? Is it the same as ads, or is there something more that comes with the ROI in terms of both quantitative as well as qualitative? What would you say is the ROI measured when you get a brief from the client? And what is the expectation?
Yeah. So when it comes to branded content, I'll be very honest. Everyone just wants to tell a story. And I would say when it comes to briefing a network, because what they do is ROI they expect from the TVCs. We don't make TVCs. That's completely done by advertisement commercials. So for which they mostly connect with their creative agencies. What we do is an extension to that, because of course you need to understand the campaign thought, whatever the brands, for example, I would just say a brand like, I mean, any brand you can pick up, Mahindra. They've created a TVC. Now they want to extend the communication of a news launch. That's when they come to us. They will not come to us to create something which they want to. I mean, the first thing they do is create a TVC. So our branded content is mostly an extension of that. So it's mostly, in a way, a recall is what we help them create and connect with the audience than anything else. So that's how I will kind of answer this question.
Right. So when you say recall, it means that's over and above the mainstream advertising that they're already doing.
Because they want to do an extension of the campaign. How long will a TVC run for? And TVC, again, it's a 30-second TVC. And mostly brands want to communicate. Why do you create a TVC? You create a TVC because you're expecting a return out of it, right? You want to communicate the right message. And sometimes it's directly connected to sales. I would say most of the time it's connected to sale. Kiran can probably add.
Yeah. Let me come in here. There are very two different worlds. Most of the time, the advertising or the communication is given unnecessary burden. It is supposed to evoke emotion, and it is supposed to make your brand present out of the clutter. Okay, so whenever there's a fight on the shelf, there are so many brands. I'm talking from the FMCG perspective. The task of advertising is to make sure that the person knew that brand before, and it should aid him to take the call out of those 5, what should I use? It is never to sell the product. So ROI as a term, I get aghast by that, because I never liked that term. Okay, as Ramesh has already said, if you segregate marketing into a brand building and then there is a business development. So thankfully, finally, after 20 years, I could understand there is something called as ROI, which can be measured through the performance marketing. Apart from that, whatever everybody is saying, your communication is doing this ROI, etc. I never buy that point. I never. In fact, my KPIs are based on the ROI. I never achieved those. What I achieved is that people speak good about your product. Okay, and it is seen. And when a salesperson makes his job done, that my distribution is completely done, I am available, then the consumer, when finds my product there, he tries the product. Now the advertising can at most, as an action, give the trials, not repeat, only trials. Repeat to आपका product के performance पे basis पे होगा. So I think, I personally feel, as Ramesh said, it should be restricted to business development and to performance marketing. Uske baad, I don't believe in the term ROI when it comes to brand building or communication. What do you think, Ramesh?
So again, I'm just going back to a report that I read a couple of weeks back about the same chapter. So there is, if I look at the content marketing bit, like most of the marketers today believe that traditional advertising has come to a saturation and they need to look beyond it. So innovation is the innovation has been there, but how to innovate? Because there is so much that you can innovate also. If you look at buying a product today online, I'm coming more to online because I think the world is moving towards online. You see a lot of reviews of product, you see listing of product. Do you think any of these are genuine? Some of them are, but most of them are content which has been created by a party which has some interest. Now, if you look at Amazon, Flipkart, or any of the marketplaces, good amount of sale happens because they create content. Now, you will never come to know it's a content that is created by them, because you will see reviews somewhere else where the 4 products and the link will be to Amazon. So in many ways today, consumers are looking at, the brands are looking at multiple opportunities to get the customers to know about the product, buy the brand. Finally, when it comes to content, they create, finally brand is about what? Brand is about certain what we call it as non-tangible, intangible things, right? Trust, factors like that you can't advertise and build. You cannot say trust me. You need to have content that helps you to say this is a trustworthy brand. If many Indian house of brands are trusted for their values, some of them are for certain other things. They don't do just advertising, they just do create enough content, knowingly or unknowingly, which helps them to create that I would say the consideration for the brand beyond just features and price and other values. So we like it or not, that's the way it's going to be, whether it's digital or non-digital. So content marketing has been there. It is just become a, yeah, now we are doing it consciously. We are investing into it. That's a story that has started happening.
Right. And this is the kind of a topic where I would really love to keep discussing, but we need to also be cognizant of the time. So I want to move to the last segment, which is essentially about the new emerging ideas in branded content. And what are the new ideas or the new formats, new styles that you think will emerge in next, say, 5 years or more? So any of you can take this question.
Let me just start with how we have utilized digital and social media beyond content creation. Is that we have constantly in touch with most of the people as a panel, and they keep on giving us suggestions on the product and feedback as well. So most of my contests, which are to come up with the new product ideas, those people send me the entries of their physical product, and we really discover, because I'm in a food industry, so the new kinds of achars or new kinds of spices are actually coming up when people are giving me the regional flavors. So that's the way your people, your community can be your NPD or R&D people as well. So as I said at the start, the marketing is not participating. Consumers are as closer to the market as possible. So they're actually participating in co-creating and co-curating the content as well as the product. So that's the emerging trend, at least for the food industries, where we can understand nuances of each and every region, their taste preferences, and they can co-curate the products. For example, any spice, even if I say a chicken masala of Muzaffarpur is absolutely different than that's of Bangalore. The product is same, but the kind of the ingredients going into it are different. And that actually happens, and this is quite possible only through the massive engagement which is happening through the social media and content creation. So that's how I look at this industry to leverage that from the co-creation point of view as an R&D and participative, not just the content creation and engagement.
So you're essentially saying that the content creation will now be more driven by users and their preferences rather than a central branding team deciding that what content should be done. So that's what
not just content, they will go beyond the product. They will also dictate that this is what the product I want. And thankfully for my industry, it is possible. I mean, a Jeep or the automaker, it might not be possible to have a different configuration. But for me, as a spice player or the achar player, I know that different people living in the different India, they need different tastes or different ingredients. And so, I mean, I give them the platform to shout out and, give us what you want. And I can leverage that.
Right. Charu, Ramesh, should we move on, or you have a take?
Absolutely agreeing with what Kiran just mentioned, just going back to the statistics number, if we look at it, what we are saying is 70% of the consumers would like to learn about the new products through content. Now, brands cannot create so much of content. Secondly, we are saying that when we talk about branded content, people are looking at something that's professional, that's organic, and that's something trustworthy. Now, brands can't do this. So the power will go back to the consumers in true sense. Consumers will become the owners of your business in some time. That is the democratization that's happening with the technology. Yeah. And last but not the least, what I would say is, in the entire cycle of there is another thing, that's the next era is going to be the creators. And few months back, I was saying, who are these new creators? So you now understand what is the power that they bring onto the table. The creators are not just professional guys who are influencers or micro-influencers that we say in the traditional way who are paid. They, of course, will be paid and they'll get their part of it. But there are a huge amount of people who create content today, and they have organic nature. And that's what is going to influence consumers' consumption of brand or the product. So that's where the world is going to be. The world is of creators, and we have to be cognizant to the fact that it's not just about market here, it's about the entire business that has to align itself to entice them, because like Kiran rightly mentioned, product is the final hero.
So, So if you can see here, there is something called as, we have a contest called as Fair Achar or Mocha, where this is completely digital contest. and this is the final product. Anita Sharma ji hai, Delhi की रहने वाली, उन्होंने sprout का pickle बनाया, sprout pickle. I never heard of it. I don't know whether you guys have heard of sprout pickle, but this is the final product where Nilon's का नाम नीचे है, but Anita का नाम आगे है. This is just one example right now because I could find that on my table right now. But we are creating that kind of stuff from the content creation only. They are telling me how to make pickle. You know, so I mean, you never thought. अगर ये डिजिटल नहीं होता तो कंज्यूमर मुझे सिखाएगा क्या यार? I mean, मार्केटर का तो ये एटीट्यूड हो, कंज्यूमर मुझे क्यों सिखाएगा kind of stuff. But this is reality. Sorry, Ramesh, I kept in, but
No,
you know,
I'm absolutely with you. And this is where, Rohan, you also touched upon is the fact that the purpose of the brand, and also all those, the 4 or 5 pivots that we used to call that the basic tenets of the brand or business, it has to be in place if you want to survive in the coming time, whether it is right product, right purpose for the business. People want to buy purpose-driven brand products from the purpose-driven companies today. You know, so all that has to come into place. Otherwise, you will have a challenge because the power is now in the hands of people, not in you. So in true sense, they are the owners of your business. You are no more the marketeer, you are no more the manufacturer, you are no more the, like he rightly said, the product is manufactured as per someone's thought, not, you are not the thought leader in the product. You are not designing the product, you are just making it and making it available. That's all you are doing. So the content, you will become a subset of your purpose and your business practices. And that's what is going to drive your entire business journey from here.
Right. I think let's move on to the question and answer session because we are being cognizant about the time here. And we had some questions coming in beforehand. Let me take the first question here. This is by Prem Paul Ninan. He's a director of corporate communications at Fidelity Investments. And he asks, in the millions of stories out there, how do you attract the reader's attention? Maybe I think he means the viewer's attention. So in the millions of stories out there, how do you attract the reader's attention is the question.
So I think it's very much what we started talking about. How do you connect with the consumer? You need to understand what is your consumer choice, is what the consumers like, basically understanding your target audience. And that's how you create something which is evocative, which is engaging, which is emotional, because until you connect with the consumer, they will never want to consume what you're trying to show them, because there's so much content, there's so much to watch these days. It's very simple, and it's not just about, I think, branded content. It is about any kind of content. If you're not engaging with your viewers, with your target audience, no one's going to wait and watch you. So I think, if I'm not wrong, it's a very generic question. It is not per se, watching branded content. So that's how I would answer this.
So my take on this would be, he's asking, how will I get the eyeball, right? Simply. Yeah. So again, going back to what I understood from whatever I read earlier is that, the 3 tenets would be, I'm not seeing from now the marketer's lens, I'm looking at from the consumer's lens. He is looking at 3 things, whether the source is trustworthy. Second, he is talking about, are you promoting or is it organic? So it has to have that organic wing to it, and third is, whether it is trustworthy source. So these things, professional, trustworthy is closer to each other, but I would say organic. So you need not really go for a big, means like if you're talking about an influencer, a common man who uses your product can also become the king of your content. So now you get the right product, you get the right story, and then it should fly by itself. So in future, your investment can only help you this much, but the rest of the story will make it automatic. So you be true to your own, like ethos or the values, and things will happen. So the power is going back. It's out of your hand now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the more genuine your story is, the more real it is, the more chances of beating the algorithm, so that you can shout out in the clutter of such a huge sea of information or the content. So being genuine is the only key. I mean, you have to be absolutely genuine. If there is a content which is shot on a 4K camera with people wearing nice dresses, etc., you are never going to connect with that story. You got to have a live camera which can be shady. People might be having, all those shoddy, realistic outfit and realistic locations. That is how I look at the content. Now that is more likely to garner the attraction, so that you can beat the algorithm. So ultimately, marketers are boiled down to beating the algorithms when it comes to the standing out of the sea of this content.
It's completely about being authentic, like you
Yeah,
said.
yeah.
It's about being real, connecting, and that's how it works. Which is exactly what you've done. Like you showed us, right? It's being very authentic, very real, which is how the consumer connected. So yeah, pretty much that.
Right. I'm afraid we have only one more question that I can take right now. So this is from Mandar in the audience, and he says, would love to hear from the panel their thoughts on whether organizations have a documented content strategy in place or it keeps evolving. So is there a strategy that you set in place or it will evolve as time passes? Is his question.
So the brand guidelines are set. Okay, we know the world of the brand where we are playing. But I could not come across in my earlier experiences as well, where there's a documented strategy. The documents are restricted to what is your architecture, what are the do's, what are the don'ts, and then it keeps on evolving because it's very contextual. What is very relevant today might not be very relevant tomorrow. Okay, so it keeps on changing. So you got to be very agile when you talk to people. In terms of the language, in terms of the setup, what kind of story you're telling. So I think it's pretty fine. We should not cut it into the very wireframes of कि यार आपका content strategy ऐसा ही होना चाहिए. Core has to be the same. तो तभी वो storytelling होती है. Otherwise, if all the facets of storytelling are given in the framework, then I am afraid I don't think that story will really gain some traction.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is a guideline for communication and it stops there. And about content, it is beyond you. If you're not paying for it, it's not a paid branded content.
Correct. So this is the time we have for question and answer, since we have run out of time. For other people who have posted their questions beforehand as well as now, they can send this to us and we can forward it to the panel. And I want to bring to end this wonderful discussion. In fact, I learned a few things myself from the speakers, and I want to thank you for their time this Friday afternoon. Have a great weekend. Have a great Friday evening as well. And I will see you people on the other side with some next webinar. And thank you all for joining. Have a good day.
Hey, thanks. Thanks, Charu. Thanks, Ramesh. Thanks, Rohan. It was lovely speaking to you guys.
Yeah, the learning was mutual. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.